Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Jeremy Corbyn released his manifesto for digital democracy today. He's proposing a digital bill of rights and high-speed broadband and mobile connectivity for every household. He was mocked for suggesting that there might be some kind of free-to-use online hub of learning resources, given that Wikipedia has been doing that rather well for 15 years. But aside from his policies, one critique of Mr Corbyn is not that he's stuck in the analogue age, but that he has been so seduced by digital hype, he thinks you can win elections by campaigning in that terrain. He talked today of harnessing the advantages of new technology to organise political campaigning like we've never seen before. So, what is a digital campaign and how effective can it be? Here's Chris Cook.
A 67-year-old MP might seem an unlikely social media star, but Jeremy Corbyn is the centre of a surprisingly fertile online mass movement. And today, he set out his vision for digital Britain.
As part of Labour's plans for a universally accessible national education service, we'll create a free-to-use online hub we're calling an Open Knowledge Library, a digital repository of lessons, lectures and curricula.
He's not the most charismatic of speakers, but his supporters, lots gathered online, don't really seem to mind. Let's look at Facebook, Britain's most important social medium. A poll last year found 55% of women had lately used Facebook, including 16% of women over 65, a prime voting demographic. The equivalent figures for Twitter are 16% of all women and 2% of over 65s. Around 800,000 people have shown enough interest in Jeremy Corbyn to get regular Facebook updates from his team.
As well as an alternative broadcast tool, it's also been an organising tool for the campaign. So we've seen lots of people engaging and participating through social media, and it's actually something that's facilitated offline activity as well. So that's how we've been able to get huge numbers at meetings and rallies. We've mobilised lots of volunteers to join in and participate in the campaign.
The official campaign is just a small part of the Corbyn online fan ecosystem.
Jeremy Corbyn has a massive presence on Facebook with hundreds of thousands of followers, which is run by his campaign. But separately, run just by activists or by individuals who make images and then share them, are all these smaller groups. And essentially an image might take hold on Facebook and within 24 hours be seen by far more people than the official Facebook page without the official campaign ever organising it. And even if the campaign went away tomorrow, those sort of images would still be produced.
Here's an example, and like lots, it's a bit unfair. It compares the expenses of an MP who can cycle to Westminster from his constituency to one from Wales. Team Corbyn has already found itself having to answer for the views and arguments of some rogue supporters. The fact that a lot of the content created in the name of the Corbyn campaign isn't actually controlled by them can cause them some problems. For example, at the moment, the campaign is trying to distance itself from the work of The Canary, a publication that's online and pushes often conspiracist accounts of the news. Where's this all come from then? This expert thinks it may have its roots in Labour's unfocused online election campaign in 2015.
You see Labour, who were very effective at kind of whipping up conversations amongst the politically engaged, a lot of memes, a lot of kind of anti-government conversations taking place. Now, while that's not effective when you have an electorate essentially of 45 million people, it's incredibly effective when you have a much smaller electorate, if you like, the membership of the Labour Party and affiliated organisations who are going to decide this particular election. You can see that that kind of method of operating, while it doesn't typically work in electoral politics with the wider public, be incredibly effective with a smaller and crucially politically engaged audience.
So can Labour turn this big, hard-to-herd group of keyed-up activists into more votes?
From my experience with the Obama campaigns and organisation that both won a primary and two general elections, you need to both have the grassroots energy, but also the organization and the data and the context to make it meaningful in an electoral context. And so to be able to merely create the space for energy is one thing, but to be able to marshal it towards the ends where you can produce an electoral outcome is something else. And it remains to be seen if the scale and capacity of the Corbyn side is going to be able to do that.
The Corbynosphere utterly dominates Labour's internal elections. So far, though, it's had no visible success peeling off swing voters from the Tories.
Chris Cook there.
Let's turn now, shall we, to domestic politics. And a poll in the Times suggesting that Jeremy Corbyn is set not just it's set to consolidate his position as leader of the Labour Party.
Yes, so Jenny and I were discussing whether this was actually a story we should discuss in front of you in the Green Room. I said it was a fascinating story, being a political bore who lives in Westminster. Jenny says, but we knew Corbyn was going to win. What's news about this? There hasn't been... My answer was this, by the way. There hasn't been...
I was waiting for an explanation. Yeah, cheers.
There hasn't been a poll on who's going to win the Labour leadership for 6 weeks. In that 6 weeks, Labour MPs have gone back to their constituencies, they've talked to activists, and they've come back, and the conversations I've had with a few of them have been really quite upbeat. They still think it's going to be hard to get rid of Jeremy Corbyn, but because of the majority of them do want to do that, very much so. But they think that the gap may well be closing. It may be something like talking to their own activists, their own party members in their constituency parties, that it may be something like, 55-45, 52-48, and maybe Owen Smith could do this. And things like Traingate, the gaffe last week, and other messes haven't helped Corbyn. Along comes this Times poll, which is why it is news, saying that, in fact, he's now on course amongst all the electorate or selectorate who are able to vote, some roughly 600,000 members or affiliates of the Labour Party. He's not going to just win, but win by an even bigger margin than he won the original
So what does that mean? What will that mean for Jeremy Corbyn's fortunes, for the Labour Party, for the House of Commons?
It means that Jeremy Corbyn has to work really hard at bringing the parliamentary Labour Party together because they voted overwhelmingly that they have no confidence in him. It is an incredible mismatch between, what rank-and-file Labour Party members, people who are eligible to vote in this election, and Labour MPs think. And he has to be conciliatory after all of this. He has to bring people together. It is the job of the Labour Party to hold our government to account. Our government has a tiny majority, and it is tragic that they are not being opposed. We need, for health of politics and democracy in this country, for there to be proper opposition instead of this sad infighting that we have with the Labour Party. The question is whether or not Corbyn can bring everybody together.
The answer is overwhelmingly no.
But the figures in this are incredible. 48% of eligible voters are in favour of a purge of critical MPs. That means MPs who have been democratically voted in by the public, not by members of the Labour Party or people who are eligible to vote. There's a purge of people who don't want Corbyn to be their leader. This incredible mismatch between what a particular sector of the population, i.e. those eligible to vote, and the MPs think. Something has to give in all of this. And, what's going to happen then if Corbyn can't bring everyone together?
Well, he won't. I mean, the point of it is he doesn't want to bring everyone together unless they all sign up to his, very far left of centre ideology. And
that's the interesting detail there, is that those that are long-standing party members tend, by similar margins, to favour Owen Smith over Jeremy Corbyn.
They do. Unfortunately, they're in the minority because there's a huge amount of new members who are pretty far left now. What will happen is, interesting, I thought Labour would have to split because I thought the two sides are unreconciled now. But again, talking to MPs in the last few days, their mood has changed now. They are also, the moderates, that is, those who oppose Corbyn, they are quite resolute that this is a long war. They are now dug in for it, and they're prepared to fight this. I spoke to one MP today, he put it brilliantly. I said to him, how's the war going, comrade? Which is what one says to a Labour MP in Westminster these days. And he said, well, put it this way, we're at Dunkirk at the moment. So in other words, we've been pushed back to the beachhead. We're about to have to evacuate it again, but this is not the beginning of the end. This is just the end of the beginning.
But this is so
to get all Churchill
bad for the country if there's going to be another leadership contest, because that means that the Conservatives, even with this tiny majority, even with a
Jenny,
pretty bad track record, are going to,
as they would say,
they
simply have to. They can't walk away and start another party because Labour is their
party.
But another party will get smashed to pieces.
What I'm saying is this isn't
ballot.
just bad for the Labour Party. It is terrible for the country, and it saddens me that there's no end in sight.
Let me try and cheer you up then, shall we? And shall we turn to page 3 of the Mail? Tom, this is one that's really grabbing you. Ed Balls, he's a got a few sexy, dangerous moves there.
Hasn't he just? There's another page. There's 2 whole pages of this stuff as well.
I think one's enough. One's enough for our viewers.
These are the publicity pictures which Strictly Come Dancing put out today to give you a little taster of what you can get on Saturday night. And Ed Balls, of course, is the... I suppose you could say he's been billed as the slightly sort of, clown-like...
Joke contestant.
Possibly too strong. Clown-like, amusing bloke, a bit chubby, doesn't sound a cat's chance in hell of winning. Sort of the Anne Widdecombe, John Sargent, he will be rubbish, but everyone will love him. I have a feeling about this, having known Ed Balls a little bit from Westminster days. A couple of things about Ed Balls. One is he does nothing without putting his absolute all into it, and he will work his socks off to be a decent dancer. He may well never achieve that goal of being a decent dancer, but he's going to work his socks off at doing it. The public will see that. He's actually a very likeable guy. If you've been reading any of his book in the Times being serialised at the moment, hugely self-effacing, interesting read. And he will be, from this, he'll merge as the Boris Johnson of Labour, and this will relaunch his political career.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but just look at the concentration on that face.
Focus.
It's absolutely fantastic.